Welcome to Tech Topics brought to you by Cybervenger. We help keep small businesses stay protected and compliant with cutting-edge cybersecurity and IT solutions.
Hello and welcome. My name is Andy. I'm the managing consultant for Cybervenger. Today we're doing another deep dive into the 110 controls of the NIST 800-171 standard. The standard applies to anyone doing business with many federal departments, but particularly Department of Defense. Today's control, if we look down here, today's control is 3.11.1. This is a new family of controls. We're starting off here. This is the risk assessment family of controls. So let's see what it says here. Periodically assess the risk to organizational operations, including mission, functions, image, or reputation, organizational assets, and individuals resulting from operation of organizational systems and associated processing, storage, or transmission of CUI. That is a very lawyerly worded phrase that basically says you should conduct risk assessments on a regular basis. What's a risk assessment? What's risk? To help better understand this control and the next batch of controls that we're going to be talking about, I want to talk about the differences between a risk assessment, a vulnerability assessment, and a threat assessment. So, a risk assessment is the thing that can happen that's bad. And a vulnerability assessment is the person or entity that we're worried about attacking us. And finally, a vulnerability assessment is focused on, well, where are we weak? What's our weak spots? Okay, so those are the three different types of things. We'll delve into this a little bit more. So risk. Risk is about what versus threat, which is about who. And maybe vulnerability, I guess, is how. How would they get it? The risk is the bad thing that can happen. So the bad thing is typically disclosure of data. So CIA is a common acronym used in security. You've got confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Those are three pinnacle goals of cybersecurity. So a violation of confidentiality, exposure of information that should not be exposed, private details, information. In case of NIST, of course, they're worried about CUI being leaked to our adversaries around the world. So that's a risk. That's a bad thing that can happen. Integrity, maybe somehow the adversaries want to introduce a design flaw in something. Maybe they corrupted the information. So you're manufacturing tank armor, and it's just a plate of steel. It's not super fancy. It's controlled unclassified information. I mean, not quite top secret, but maybe they corrupt the information so that they're slightly too small. They don't fit together right, or something stupid. I mean, I'm trying to make an example here. I'm not a military, engineer, but they can introduce a flaw that perhaps later could be exploited in the battlefield. So integrity, that's a risk, and of course availability. Can the manufacturing industry continue to function under duress, under influence of cyber attack or anything like that? During wartime, can we continue to produce material and goods? That's a big deal as well. So those are risks. There are other risks too. Reputation's a risk. If you get caught, or not caught, it's not the right word, but if you fail to protect CUI and that happens, you have to report. It's kind of a black mark in your reputation. Other vendors might not want to bring you in as a third party. They may not trust you. That's a risk, right? Safety, I guess, is a risk. I mean, it may sound silly, but cybersecurity can cost physical lives. What if there's a stamping machine or a giant steel, some of these steel plants? I sometimes see YouTube videos, these giant pieces of hot steel get shot off the side of the plant and narrowly almost kills somebody or grazes somebody's shoulder or sets their pants on, clothes on fire. There's some crazy accidents you see in metal smelting plants and steel plants. Those systems are all controlled by computer. If someone was to, I guess you would lump it into integrity, right? If someone was to violate the data and the parameters of how that equipment's working, they could cause a physical breach that result in injury or death of plant workers, things like that. So there's a lot of risks, but I'm not going to go into the scope of this video of exactly what all the possible risks out there, because there's unknown unknowns, right? You don't even know what could happen. What I was just talking about is known unknowns. Well, we don't know. We know that perhaps a machine could be sabotaged to eject hot steel at an unsuspecting worker. That's a known unknown. Then there's unknown unknowns, things we just haven't thought about. And that's part of the purpose of a risk assessment is to try and discover more of those unknown unknowns, perhaps to some degree even mitigate the unknown unknowns, address the known unknowns, and that sort of things. All talking about the bad things that can happen, maybe addressing it from a business operations standpoint to prepare for it. That's like this difference between business continuity and disaster recovery. Business continuity is how do you continue to do business when X, Y, and Z happens. Disaster recovery is how do we physically get our systems back up after that happens. So a lot of the risk assessment will talk about who do you contact, what's your disclosure policy, what are your legal requirements, who is the team members involved in dealing with the situation. Like, kind of goes hand in hand with incident response planning, or reminds me a lot of that. And you need to do this on a regular basis. You should take everything you're doing and all the people involved and news articles and popular trends and add all that in. Typically, I'd say quarterly. I would recommend quarterly. I think, I don't know if that's an actual requirement. Well, let's look down here and find out. Here's the other one. Define clear boundaries, risk assessment, vulnerability, blah, 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 blah. I don't think it says explicitly here that you should do quarterly risk assessments. I think that's a good frequency to do them. There are other cybersecurity standards that we also support. NIST is not our only gig. Like the collections industry, for example, is a big vertical for us. And the banks all want you to do quarterly risk assessments. So if I were you as an organization seeking, accreditation by the CMMC, or if you're just trying to comply with NIST and make sure you're covered, I do this quarterly. Certainly no less than once a year. Absolutely minimum once a year. And I don't think that's enough. I think quarterly is a better way to do that. So hopefully it gives you an idea of the difference between a risk assessment, and it helps you understand what it is by comparing it to the other common assessments, and that makes a little sense. Risk assessments are a big thing across lots of disciplines. It's not just cybersecurity for NIST. It's other areas of business as well. There are other risk assessments. I mean, what if you manufactured, your plant is in a floodplain, right? There's ways to manage that kind of risk. It's not just cyber risk, but they're obviously talking about cyber risk here. So that's all I got for this one. We got several more controls in this family to talk about, and I will see you all in the next one.
Thanks for watching. We hope this video has provided valuable information to you. Be sure to share this video with other small business owners to spread the word about the importance of cybersecurity. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. If you want more information about cybersecurity, visit us at www.cybervenger.com.